Hello and welcome to the results video of round 5 of the Automation Beam Championship, hosted by the famous creator of the Haggis, Nev Cohen, and voiced over by me, Oliver the Hovervan, because Josh the Trucker is lost somewhere in the mountains or something. Anyway, this round was all about putting the gone back in wagons, as we are tasked with building sporty wagons from the years 1995 to 2009. Think cars that are easy to drive, comfortable and practical, but that can not only haul a lot of stuff, but also some serious, you know what I mean. This round was driven on the Grand Valley Speedway, a fictional track by one of the most mediocre racing games of all time, Gran Turismo. Let's get onto the cars now, okay? We start with the Alto Delta Reparto Corse 184 Sport Wagon, which was the only car built in 2005. It's powered by 1.9 liter inline 4, which makes it the only inline 4 in this round, and it's also the only wagon with just 2 doors in this round. Next is the BT Motors BTR Pantera. It's orange, very orange. It's also very beautiful, as it has ended up in first place in aesthetics, and it's also very good, as it scored third in markets. Then we have the Vespucci Pellegrini Cagliari 2010 Allegro Corsa Familiare, which is made in 2009 and was built by Dreamer Motors. The name has taken up all the time I have to do voiceovers for this car, so there you go. Now we have the Fraser Unfinished Bruh moment, made by Ag Motorsports. The car is powered by the only V6 in this competition. It is very low horsepower, but to compensate, very high exhaust. Next up is Enigma's Warthog GTRS, being one of the 2 cars built on a semi-space frame chassis. Driven by the Colored Cow, it finished 3rd in lap time and it scored a 2nd place in the automation market. And all that for just $35,000. Not a bad deal. Next, very Swedish, but not very speedish, the Olsen W330 Turbo made by GT Auto finished in 18th place lap time wise, but 5th in looks. But we all know, of course, looks are more important than speed, right? Anyway, where can I get one? The Kaiser Dragon Motorsports 300Z Chuck Wagon Super Series V12 is a strange car. Even though it's powered by, guess what, a V12, it's also the cheapest car in this round, which makes me wonder what shady cost cutting was used building this thing. Lion Racing's Panther S is the heaviest car this round, but with 504 horsepower it's also the 3rd most powerful. Apparently the automation market's like thick speedy boys because the Panther S came first in automation scores. Next up is the Metz Motors Sortie Gen 3 Power Wagon. Its big 3.5 liter Boxer 6 basically makes the car a 911 Turbo, if the 911 Turbo was a front-engined wagon. Also, I will be notifying Dodge that someone has stolen their model name. Now we have New Horizons entry, the Venare Rochetto Sen VSR V8, which looks like they've stolen the rims of a Volvo, the front of a Lancer, and then just smeared banana down the sides. Don't worry, this is my own team, so I'm bashing myself. Team NMR's Aspen 530 Turbo is a lightweight, powerful wagon that, as always, looks very nice. So nice, in fact, that it scored 1st in looks, which makes the 1st place in aesthetics a tie between BT Motors and NMR. The 2002 Picard Motor Company Ajax's XR is a high-revving aluminium panelled wagon that is quite large, yet just weighs the same amount as a handful of walnuts. Nicely done on keeping the weight that low. Next is the Smons Racing Iota 420 SR featuring IKEA blue paint, 200 horsepower worth of racing stripes, partial aluminium panels and the same gearbox as literally everyone else in this round. Team Artemis has made the Samurai RS, which is a car with a high horsepower figure, high RPMs, high displacement, a high weight, a high price and a high level of orangeness. Nevertheless, it scored a low time with a 2nd place lap time finish. Next up is the Thistle Sky RS, named after the Scottish Isle, which is coincidentally the same size. With a 3rd in automation scores and a 2nd in markets, this stretched skyline is the one to look out for. The Taipin W10HR is a very good looking wagon with ridiculous stats. It has a massive 6 liter V10 producing the 2nd highest power figure in this round. It has the show and the go, but sadly the markets say no. The Velociter Motorsports Lusoso Wagon V8 all-wheel drive GMR is a car with a lot of acronyms. It has 555.5 HP, its 4.7 LTT V8 revs to 7500 RPM, and it goes from 0 to 62 mph in 4.4s. The Vernon Autos V-Sport Verdun Estate Cigar Edition is a nice little homage to Cigar K. The car is well built overall, it has steel panels and a steel chassis and a manual gearbox. All of those things make it a very affordable car. The Voltus Automotive Frontier Mark III 3800 PSE is a very good looking fast wagon. The stats give it away that it could probably have rivaled the Mercedes and BMW wagons of the time. Very nicely done. The Vulcan Vagabond V10 is a very fast vehicle. Its 5.5-liter V10 sent the car to 62 miles per hour in 4.3 seconds with double fishbone suspension in the front and costing only $45,000. This wagon is a very valiant effort. The Waffle Motors Apels SW Turbo, the car for the people. With first place in markets, it becomes clear that the car people want to buy is cheap, powerful and easy to service. In hindsight, we should have known. Well done, Waffle. Now, the Carla Mark III 500 SS wagon made by Ferdinand PV and driven by the Colored Cow has scored first in lap time. Even though the car is one of the heaviest around, its big power and all-wheel drive system have launched it to the top, speed-wise. The 1999 car, powered by a massive 4-liter inline 6 that makes almost 500 horsepower, launches itself to 62 miles an hour in just under 4 seconds. Very impressive. Now I'll let you look at the rest of the lap without opening my big mouth again. For the Construction Championship for round 5, BT Motors scored the first place again with 1 bronze medal and 1 gold medal, adding up to a total of 143 points for this round. In second place is Lion Racing with 134 points, followed very closely by Waffle Motors, which is only 1 point behind. Next in fourth place is Thistle and in fifth place is Team Artemis. Both scored 1 bronze medal and 1 silver medal. Second to fourth place is incredibly close. The 4 positions are only separated by 4 points in total. Further down the line we have a tie on ninth place between NMR and New Horizon, both teams scoring 108 points this round. Next we have 2 ties in a row. 15th place is shared by Dreamer Motors and Picard Motor Company, both scoring 83 points. And in 17th place we have Taipin and Voltus Automotive, both scoring 73 this round. And the last tie is for 23rd place and is between Lamborghini and Aero Motors, both teams scoring 51 points. Now, the lap times this round were very interesting. In first place is Ferdinand PV with the Colored Cow as a driver with a 2 minute 16.4, scoring 45 points. In second place is Team Vulcan with the supporting T as a driver, driving a 2 minute 18.7, scoring 40 points. But now things get weird, because the third fastest time was also driven by a Colored Cow, but for another team, so that wasn't counted, because only the time you set for your own team is counted towards the Drivers' Championship. Then the same happened in fourth place. That time was also set by a supporting T, who also drove the second fastest time. And by using the same rule, that wasn't counted either, which makes Waffle Motors the 5th fastest time overall, but the 3rd fastest driver in this round. The fourth fastest time being set by Quanto for Met Motors, and the fifth time for Eddie BT for BT Motors. And to round off the top 10, we have Nev in 6th place for Thistle, and in 7th place GamerMe for Velocita, who was a fraction quicker than Swans Racing. Then in 9th place Razarza for New Horizon with a 2 minute 22.7, and in 10th place is Soup Queen driving for Dreamer Motors. A large portion of the top 10 was very close with only a few seconds between the times set by the team's drivers. And now that concludes the results video for round 5. And you might be thinking, oh no, Oliver the Hover fan, this is the first time you're doing voiceover and you're already forgetting the final standings. But no, you silly goose, I haven't forgotten that at all. The final standings for the season will be presented in a separate season roundup video, which is going to be posted on a later date. So chill out guys, jeez, I could feel the disappointment from here. Anyway, have a nice day and I'll see you in the roundup video. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to the mountains to try and find Josh the trucker. Wish me luck.